I'm Brandon Smith, and I'm the workplace therapist. My entire purpose and passion in life is one singular thing, and that's to help you live a life free from dysfunction. And let's be honest, folks, dysfunction is everywhere. Our bosses, our coworkers, our neighbors, even that grumpy barista that pours your coffee. And sometimes, that dysfunction stares back at us in the face when we're getting ready in the mornings and we see ourselves in the mirror. Well, at the end of the day, life and work should not have to suck. The purpose of this show is to help you overcome those roadblocks in your life to help you realize the life you've always wanted. This is the Brandon Smith Show. I am your host, Brandon Smith, and the entire purpose of this show is one singular thing, and that is to help you live a life free from dysfunction. So for our show today, we have a leadership therapy segment, and I am particularly excited about this topic. My co-host, one of my fantastic producers, Whitney Mendoza, is joining us. I don't know if Whitney is quite as comfortable with this topic as I am.
I'm a little bit nervous.
Are you?
I am nervous about it. I'm trying to formulate in my mind what we're going to talk about.
So let me bring our listeners into our topic today.
Okay.
So this topic, and I'll walk us in by telling a story. So this week I was working with a coaching client, and this client has decided to quit his job, and he's now kind of trying to do something completely new. Basically, start his own business, do something very big.
Okay.
And he's struggling with making that move. And this is not uncommon. Making big moves in life are hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had this conversation with him that in order to do anything really big in life, you've got to have the three most precious jewels in life to do it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. The three most precious jewels, the things that you got to have if you want to do anything big.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Lay them out.
Okay, so I'll start with our first one. Our first one is purpose. You have to have a clear sense of purpose. And so here's what I mean by purpose. Purpose is like your big why. Why are you doing what are you doing? What's the need in the world that you're trying to meet? It gives you that, it's kind of your North Star. It gives you that compelling reason to move forward. Purpose. You look like you have something on your mind. Spit it out.
That's the one that scares me the most.
Purpose scares you the most?
Yeah.
You look nervous when you said that.
It was like, we're going to talk about purpose. I'm like, this may turn in, this really will be leadership therapy because we're going to talk about
What scares you about it?
purpose.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's like such a no, and I feel like sometimes we confuse.
Do we need to get a couch in here? So
We should.
We do. We need
corner.
for leadership therapy. We really should have a couch.
We should. I mean, it just, it feels so certain and yet not so uncertain. And I think a lot of times we confuse job with purpose. Like you hear everyone say your purpose isn't necessarily your job and your job's not your purpose. I think we can get lost in that.
So there's something, we could have a whole month of segments just on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to touch on it briefly, knowing that we'll come back to it again in future episodes, because this is going to be an ongoing thing. There's good and bad news in purpose. The good and bad news is this: you will have a purpose. You will have a purpose. The question is whether or not you define it or someone else defines it for you. And that's the real challenge with purpose.
Can you repeat that again? That was really good.
Absolutely. So for those of you who heard this voice in the background, this is my other fantastic producer, Isaac Mendoza. And Isaac just says, hey, can you repeat that? And yes, I can.
They let me out the box, Brandon.
Don't-
You guys can't stop me.
He's out of the box. So you're going to have a purpose in life. It's a question of whether or not you define it or someone else defines it for you. So my favorite story around this was years ago, I had met a consultant and in a networking event of some sort, which I despise those, by the way. And he had come up to me and he had introduced himself to me as the pricing specialist for the tire industry. Wow. Okay. So this is what he does. He was the pricing specialist for the tire industry. But it was how he introduced himself to me. He didn't say, hey, I'm the pricing specialist for the tire industry. That wasn't how he said it. He said it like this. He said, I'm the pricing specialist for the tire industry. Like
Like he didn't buy into it.
how did this happen to me? And he had this not uncommon story. He had
Mm.
gone after graduating from college. He worked at a bank, I think as a teller for a little while. Didn't really love it. Went in and got his MBA, and after that, still didn't know what he wanted to do. So he said, "Oh, I'll go into consulting," because there's this belief consulting is like a workplace buffet, right? I can pick off a little industry here and pick off a function there, and just keep trying stuff. And it is kind of, but the first time you go through the buffet, you get whatever's left over.
Mm.
So he got first project. Any guess? Tires.
Bridgestone.
That was it.
Pricing tires.
That was the first one.
First project was he was pricing tires. And he did such a good job on that project that the client said, I want to follow on engagement.
Mm.
And then 10 years later, he's the pricing specialist for the tire industry.
So he just kind of got stuck there.
He kind of got stuck there. That became his purpose, his kind of role. He became a the. We're all going to become a the in something, whether it's at work or outside of work. So purpose is really about trying to commit yourself to a need in the world that you feel compelled to. The last thing we'll talk about on purpose for today is that there's this belief that most people have that when purpose will find me, like there's this going to be, I'm going to drive down the highway one day. There's going to be this big neon sign, and it's going to say, "Hey, here's your purpose. Turn left." And that can happen, but my experience has been, so more often than not, purpose is embedded in our own stories. So it's our own backgrounds and experiences we've gone through that really stimulates that purpose. Needs that were unmet for us or unmet for others close to us is where we find purpose. It's those experiences we have. So for me, my purpose is to eliminate all workplace dysfunction. That's my North Star. It's way up here. It's always going to be there. Now, what I do to achieve that is going to look lots of different ways. It's always evolving, but that never changes. It's right there.
I feel like
Purpose.
there's a story behind that. We have to get to that in the next segment.
Oh, you think so?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's purpose. That's our first one.
Okay. I still have so many more questions about that. We haven't even gotten to 2 and 3, but
Okay.
it's
Right.
there in my mind.
Okay. We're going to go to 2,
Okay.
and then we may come back to purpose.
It's intense. Okay. Number
Okay.
2.
Number 2, courage. So we hit purpose. That's our first rare jewel. Courage is our second rare jewel. And courage is having that will to make that step into that unknown, make that first movement.
Courage is one of the hardest things though to have.
Yeah, it's one part. It's why it's one of the rare jewels, Isaac.
Well, which do you have to have first?
Courage or purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So they can come either way.
Okay.
Order doesn't really matter, but they reinforce each other.
So if you just know I'm meant for something more, I don't really know what it is, but I know I'm going to find out along the way.
Courage
That's
can be
part of that
courage.
Okay.
Courage is another way to look at courage is itchiness. Okay? And so I do not believe that it's good in life to have a high pain tolerance.
Hmm.
So let me say that again for everybody. And I'm going to say it slightly differently. It is not good in life to have a high pain tolerance. Often we get taught the other way, right? I got to suck it up. What happens then is if you have a high pain tolerance, you stay in situations way too long.
Mm-hmm.
And you end up convincing yourself that any change is going to be worse than what you're currently in. We're in a bad relationship too long. We're in a bad job too long. We've got a bad boss for too long. We're doing a job or a career that we really don't feel like we're called to do.
Right.
So courage is itchiness. It's that sense of I'm meant for more. I'm going to make this move.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that step forward. It's hard. That's why it's one of the rare jewels. Now the third rare jewel, okay, is faith. Faith. So we've got purpose, we've got courage, now we've got faith. Now these are three-legged. This is a three-legged stool, by the way. If you have just 2 of these 3, your stool falls over. And I'll talk about that in a minute when we get towards the end of this.
Mm-hmm.
But faith is the third one. Faith can mean lots of things to people. It can mean your own spiritual faith and what you believe you're called to do. It can mean knowing that just in your gut you're meant for more. It can mean knowing that I'm going to walk into the unknown and I'm going to be able to figure it out. I'm going to be able to figure it out no matter what happens. Faith begins when data ends. So when we don't have information, that's what faith is about. It's putting your trust and reliance in something bigger than you or something that you can't see. Faith. Okay, you look like there's so many things. For those listening, if you could only see Whitney's face, it's like a deer in the headlights. But she's got a lot to
I
say.
told you today's topic made me nervous.
Does it still make you nervous
A
after we
little
talked
bit.
about it?
A little bit.
What,
Because now I get your previous answer of courage or purpose first was yes, because so is faith.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you need to have faith to be able to step into courage. You have to have courage to go out and find your purpose.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. So let's talk about how each of these play out. I'll give you another analogy.
Okay.
Imagine you're in the middle of a forest at night and it's dark. Okay? And you're trying
Have you
to-
seen Stranger Things?
No.
Oh, you need to see that one.
Oh, this is
The forest at night is not a good idea.
okay. Yeah. All right. So
Courage.
you're there, okay? And you got to get out. Okay. So let's talk about how each of these elements plays into that. Because this is us in life. We're stuck in the dark forest.
True.
So purpose is the North Star. So we look up, we can see it. We know that's where we're headed towards. No matter where we are in the forest, we look up, it's still there. Okay? It's our North Star. Faith is, I can't see more than maybe 6 feet in front of me, but I know I'm going to be okay. I know there's going to be something underneath me,
Mm-hmm.
even though I can't see it. And the courage is that first movement, picking up your foot and placing it down in front of you, making that first step. That's how they relate. So you need all three. You need to keep moving forward. That's courage. You need to have the understanding that you're going to be okay. That's faith. And then you need to be able to have that North Star that continuously guides you forward. Here's what happens if you're missing any of these elements. Let's say you've got courage and you've got faith, but you have no purpose. Okay, and this happens, by the way. I talk to people all the time that are missing one, and this is the common outcome. So if you have courage and faith, but no purpose, you take a couple steps forward, and then you walk
Okay.
backwards.
Okay.
Okay,
I was
because
thinking maybe circles, but
that can also
maybe the
happen.
same. Okay.
That can also happen. That can
Okay.
also happen. So you'll walk in circles. You're right, because lots of things will be shiny in front of you.
okay.
If you have purpose and faith but no courage, you don't even take the first step. You're too afraid to even take the first step, even though you know you're meant for something more.
Mhm.
You can't make that first step. You stay in that job that you know you're not meant to do for way too long. And if you have faith and, courage and purpose but no faith, then it is a little bit more like I illustrated in the first time. You'll walk forward, then you'll walk backwards, because you won't know where really you can go. So yeah, you gotta have all three.
So we're coming up on a break. I have a really great question from a listener that completely ties into this.
Okay,
So when we come back,
you're not gonna tell me what the question
no,
from the listener is.
no payback time.
I'm a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I know the
I
feeling.
think I need a little bit of faith
Mhm.
and courage.
Courage.
I do.
If we have time when we get back, I have 2 questions about purpose.
Okay.
Probably
2.
because it scares me the most.
Okay. So when we get back from the break, let's talk about your 2 questions, and then let's move into our question from the listener that you're
Okay.
not going to tell me what it is.
No,
No,
get
thank you.
to go through the break and
Appreciate
just
that.
wonder.
Appreciate that. Isaac, I think I'm having you on my next show
Yay!
because I think you're going to play a little bit nicer than Whitney.
I have faith that
So-
that's not going to be the case.
All right, let's take a break so we can get Whitney something to eat, and then we'll come right back. And so stay tuned. Can't wait for not only Whitney's questions, but the question from you.
Right job plus the right culture plus the right boss equals workplace happiness. The number one reason people leave jobs is problems with their boss. A horrible boss can make us dread every Monday, but an amazing boss can make us so excited to work that we'd go in on weekends. Finding your perfect boss is not only possible, it's one of the most impactful steps you can take in crafting your perfect career. Visit theworkplacetherapist.com and click on guides to learn how to find and get your perfect boss. Whether that means making the decision to move on or turning your current boss into the perfect leader you want them to be. Our bosses have so much influence over our work and our whole day. Working for the right boss alone can be a winning career strategy.
Welcome back to the Brandon Smith Show. I am your host, Brandon Smith, and today we have been talking about the 3 big rare jewels in life: purpose, courage, and faith. Let's roll those all into one big word. I don't know what that would be. Purpose, courage, and faith. And in a minute, we're going to take a question from you, listener. But before we do that, Whitney, you had a couple burning questions on your mind about purpose.
I do.
Hit me.
I had a question though. Before going into the questions, where can they reach you, Brandon? At like the social media, Facebook, Twitter,
Okay.
Whitney.
I can be reached at the WP Therapist on Twitter. And of course, you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Brandon Smith WPT for Workplace Therapist. So facebook.com/Brandon Smith WPT, or Twitter at the WP Therapist. So yeah, definitely follow us. And I'm always trying to put out more good stuff to help you.
We're going to need you after my purpose questions.
Yes. Okay.
First question. I feel like we all maybe have this question. What if we feel like our purpose is a small purpose? Like a doctor, their purpose is saving lives. What if you're just a manager of a tire store?
So you can find purpose in work in your workplace in one of 2 ways. So what you do is like the doctor example, right? Saving lives. But you can find it in the how you do it. So now I have to tell a story.
Please do. I like your stories.
Okay, so this is my favorite story around this. I had a student in the 1-year program at Emory's Business School several years ago, and he had gone through the program. He was getting ready to go into the program. I met him during orientation, and he grabbed me. He said, "I want to grab coffee. I want to talk to you." And I said, "Okay." He said, "I came from an accounting background and working for an IT company." I said, "All right." He said, "I hate IT and I hate accounting." I said, "All right, well, that's a problem."
Yeah.
So we talked about things he could be doing and different kinds of career paths he could go. Now, this is a unique program. It's a 1-year program, so it's actually literally 364 days. They start the day after graduation, and then they graduate that next May. So it's a
Wow.
crash course in the summer to get them caught up, and then they join the 2nd-year class. So before I knew it, that time had passed. So we were getting right up to graduation date, and he grabbed me and he said, "Hey, I got a job, and I'm so excited to tell you." I said, "Awesome. So what's your job?" He said, "I'm going to be an accounting manager for an IT company." I said, what happened? And he responded with this really great story. He said, "During this whole experience, I realized the thing I always really wanted to do growing up was be a high school football coach. That's what I always wanted to do. But I could never figure out a way to make that really work for my life. When this job came along and I looked closely at it, I realized it was a coaching job. My job was to hire undergraduates right out of college with accounting degrees, grow them, develop them, and promote them into other parts of the company. Huge company, by the way." And so he said, "I still hate accounting. I still hate IT. But my love for coaching, it's the how I do what I do, which gives me purpose." And he's been promoted 4 times in like 5 years.
Wow.
He's known as the people developer inside the accounting and finance function. So purpose can be either the what you do, it can also be the how you do it. If you look at another example on the corporate side, look at Chick-fil-A. You know, their what they do is they make a really tasty fried chicken sandwich.
Right.
But that's not what drives them. Their purpose of having a positive impact on everyone they come in contact with, that's really what drives them. For Chick-fil-A, it's not the what, it's the how. So you can find purpose on either side. Does that help, kind of?
It does.
Okay.
Okay. A second purpose question.
Okay.
Can your purpose change?
Yes. Great question. Can purpose change? So some people have a North Star which stays there forever. Other people go through seasons of purpose. So if we're going to hop over to one of my favorite individuals to talk about, Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was the founder of existential psychology, which is really all about finding purpose in life.
Holocaust survivor?
He was.
Yes. Okay.
Absolutely, he was. So he was a Jewish physician in Austria, and when the Nazis rolled through Austria, he and his family were taken into concentration camps, and his entire family was killed. Victor was the only one who survived. And he noticed that when his fellow prisoners lost that sense of meaning or hope or purpose, they would curl up in a ball and die the next day.
Right.
He wrote that in his autobiography. So when he came out on the other end of that, he started existential psychology. And he said, you can find purpose and meaning in life one of three ways. The work you do, the relationships or people you encounter in your life, and then finally, the attitude you take towards unavoidable suffering. So that we've talked about the work you do, but it's also the relationships you have. And that plays a lot into different seasons of life. So your role as a mother or father or husband or wife or brother or sister or friend or manager or mentor, that can give you purpose and meaning. And those can change over time. So yeah, absolutely. And of course, then the attitude we take towards unavoidable suffering, where you can see hints of faith play out in that one as well. So yeah, it's okay to have your purpose change in different seasons. Some people have one that stays there the whole time. Other people, it changes and evolves. That's absolutely all right.
I feel better now
Do you? Okay.
about my purpose.
Okay, good. Are you going to tell me what it is? No?
Maybe later.
Okay.
Well,
All right, so do we still have time for a question from
We
a
do.
listener?
we do.
All right, let's hit
It's
it.
good. I'm telling you. It was made for this episode. Are you ready?
I am ready.
So this writer is a nurse.
Okay.
And she tells us that her patient load has been dropping over a period of time. So she's seeing that she's been given less patients to take care of. I've been with this company for 18 years. Many bosses and colleagues have come and gone, but there's a new administrator in the past few years. And with this new administrator, a lot of people have quit. I'm still here, but I think it's time for me to look elsewhere.
Okay.
So she tells a story about how she was blamed for something that another nurse did, and she just happened to be the one that that had caught the mistake and fixed it, but she was blamed for it.
Yep.
So she talks about she emailed the administrator to ask for a meeting to explain the situation. She emailed her Thursday, no response Friday, no response Monday. She emailed you on Wednesday, with still no response from her administrator. So now she's really thinking, okay, I'm going to quit, but she wants all of her evaluations, which are above average. So she wants to know, what can she do and what should she do? One, is it truly time for her to leave? And two, if she doesn't get a response from her administrator, how does she get those evaluations, to go on to the next job with a good reputation?
Yeah, so she's stuck in this place of not hearing anything. Goes back to one of the principles I always talk about: in absence of communication, people always assume the worst. So she's in this place of kind of that dark forest, wondering what's going on,
Right.
and it's probably not good. I would not, here's what I would recommend in situations like this. And we find ourselves in situations like this. We're trying to get information from someone and they're not responding. A boss, a customer,
And
friend.
I think it can be even harder when you've been somewhere for so long, because you kind of feel like, I'm trusted, I'm here, I've been here. She says for 18 years. I think it's harder that all of a sudden she's being treated this way as well.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple strategies in this. First, I would say don't jump to any rash conclusions yet. I think that's an important one. So here's some things that I would recommend that she would do in this situation, and that any of us could do in situations like this. So one, find another way to get in front of that administrator. Maybe go by the administrator's office, go by her office or his office, and just pop in and do it in a friendly way. Just say, hey, I just want to grab some of your time. I know you've been busy. If I could grab 5 minutes, I would really appreciate that. So try and get FaceTime. That will make her feel better, and just have some conversations about what's going on. The second thing is, when you've been in a place for as long as this individual has, 18 years, you've got a lot of other relationships inside there. Leverage your network. Maybe you've got other leaders that you could talk to, or other colleagues you could talk to just either get support or clarity to what's going on. My guess is the way that this picture's been painted, this administrator is not going to last very long. When people are routinely leaving and you're behaving in a way that's unresponsive, that's not the recipe for long-term success. I've got a good friend of mine who always has a saying. He says, responsiveness is cheap. It's cheap currency, but it's really valuable currency. It's easy to do. Most people don't do it. And so that's definitely a bad sign to have this administrator not respond. But again, I think just trying to find other ways to get in front of that person. Now, that doesn't mean you can't put the feelers out and look for other opportunities. But don't jump without doing all these measured things first. It's always easier. We've all heard this before, and it's so true. It's always easier to get another job when you have a job than when you don't have a job.
Right.
So that's what I would recommend.
So she just needs to look for something else, but kind of be patient in the meantime.
I would say, if I ordered it, I would say go to find another way to get in front of that administrator. So just sit down and talk about what's going on. Second, get with your other network. Reach out to other people you know that you've worked with over the years. 18 years is a long time. And third, start to have some conversations with your family and friends about what might be other places you might want to work.
I had a question about that, Brandon. So
Yeah.
you brought in family. What's one, I mean, I'm sure it's, now that I have a family, it's one of the hardest things to have those three things, those jewels, because you're not only guiding yourself, but you're guiding other people. You could be a single mom, or a dad or a father, or you can be, I mean, whatever the situation is, but it's when you have other people in your boat, it's differently.
Yeah, it is. So you have more responsibilities. Absolutely. You've got more people that are you're responsible for, that you need to take care of. But that doesn't mean you have to necessarily sacrifice your purpose for that. It's about how can I do both? So I've got my work purpose, but I also have a purpose as a father and husband, and that kind of purpose. I've got that role too. That's important. And balancing those is the challenge.
So really, in a sense, you can have more than one purpose
You can.
as well.
You can, absolutely. You can. But I think the important thing is when we talk about purpose, what purpose allows you to do, since we kind of keep coming back to that, and it may be important for our listener too, when she's thinking about what she wants to do next. Purpose is also a decision-making tool. So it's lenses that you can look through when opportunities come in front of you. Okay, does this align with my purpose? Does it help me to move forward down this path? Is it going to keep me going towards that North Star? So it's helpful in that way. That's why I'm a big believer that if you've got it, talk about it a lot, share it with others, use it regularly as a guide for you. And it's not constraining or confining. I have my purpose, but it allows me to do fun podcasts with Isaac, sometimes Whitney, on occasion.
Losing my faith here.
But it allows me to teach, allows me to coach, allows me to do lots of other things.
And
Okay.
one of the other things is, I had another question as an CEO or owner. How do you manage that?
So as a CEO or owner, then it's even that much more important to articulate your purpose and to share it with others. So you're using it as a tool to not only guide your decisions of the business, but selecting people or encouraging people to join your group that share the same purpose or that feel connected to that sense of purpose.
And then how do you show them, or how do you guide them with, you already have your purpose, but then your star? Do you share that? Hey, this is where we want to go, or this is where I see ourselves.
Absolutely. You share that. It gives people vision, and that can be motivating and inspiring. Purpose is also the source of inspiration. It breathes, and inspiration comes from the root to breathe spirit into. So you're breathing spirit into others when you share your purpose. So not only is it reinforcing for you, but absolutely it's reinforcing for others.
Awesome.
Okay. I see we're out of time. Time flies when
We've
we're having
grilled you.
fun.
I know. So many more questions.
Time flies when we're
And
having
your
fun.
story next time.
Next time? Okay.
We'll have to revisit this.
Well, so here we come to the point of the show, which is the most anxiety producing for me.
I did well today.
You did do well today.
So I'm going to sleep good.
So to sum up our show today, we talked about courage, purpose, and faith, the 3 rare jewels. So I'd encourage everyone listening to use that as a litmus test for themselves. Where do they stand with each of those? Do they have all 3? Are they missing one? If you are missing one, what can you do to try and strengthen that or bolster that up? Now, I would also encourage all of our listeners to continue to follow us on Twitter at the WP Therapist and on Facebook, and know that our show drops every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern. And so they can catch it on Facebook at facebook.com/Brandon Smith WPT for
Nice.
Workplace Therapists.
It was good.
Pretty good.
And part of the following us is so that they can join our purpose to fight dysfunction, make our lives better. We shouldn't have to deal with dysfunction as much as we do. And the whole purpose of this show, and my purpose, is to help us have a dysfunction-free life. So, until then, until our next show and the next time I get to hang with you, have an awesome week and an awesome life. I'm Brandon Smith, and I'm the Workplace Therapist. My entire purpose and passion in life is one singular thing, and that's to help you live a life free from dysfunction. And let's be honest, folks, dysfunction is everywhere. Our bosses, our coworkers, our neighbors, even that grumpy barista that pours your coffee. And sometimes, that dysfunction stares back at us in the face when we're getting ready in the mornings and we see ourselves in the mirror. Well, at the end of the day, life and work should not have to suck. The purpose of this show is to help you overcome those roadblocks in your life to help you realize the life you've always wanted.